Hi everyone, my name's Anthony Cummins. I'm going to talk to you today about Samurai and Brexit. But as always, my videos support one of my books. So this is Old Japan. If you like this video, if you like Japan, get yourself a copy of that. Old Japan, Secrets from the Shores of the Samurai. Lots of easy to understand info in there. So what do I mean, Samurai and Brexit? Okay, it is now mid-October 2019. Brexit is almost upon us. Now, it would be considered an emergency or a possible emergency. Okay, so we're working from this book, which is Natori. It's the Book of Samurai, Book 1, Fundamental Teachings, the Secret Collected Scrolls of Natori Ryu. So what it talks about in here, and it talks about in many places, but there's mainly one of them. It's just a skill here. It's storing up food in times of peace. Prepare dried rice and soy pulp each year. Be aware that stockpiling food is an essential part of preparing for emergencies. So what I'm trying to do with Natori Ryu is bring samurai, what's the word I'm looking for? Samurai teachings to your mind, so you can A, follow them philosophically, B, follow them historically, but also follow them in today. So when I was younger, I'm going to show you in a minute some other stuff, but when I was younger, I was born in the late 70s, so I was a 70s child, and I was born in August, which means I was a Christmas baby. I was a drunken Christmas baby, basically. Yes, Father, I'm looking at you. So when the millennium came about in 2000, I was 20 odd to early 20s. And so you didn't really care so much. I was quite prepared in many things, but it was like the millennium bug's coming, we're all gonna die, there'll be plagues in the street, people cannibalism. You know, basically it was like, yeah, you know, the digits don't work, can we adjust it? And my mother was like, oh, I'm getting some war food prepared, because she's a baby boomer, so she's basically after World War II. So it's like, prepare the war food. So we used to have this big cupboard where I used to live when I was younger, and my mother had stacked it with canned food and dried food, like loads of it, and we used to rip the piss out of it. It was like, Mum's war food, what are you doing, Mum? It's just the millennium, nothing's gonna happen, it's fine. And we used to joke at her. But actually, now I'm older, I thought that was actually a very good move, because what if it had gone wrong? So if you go back to samurai teachings, part of, or essentially samurai about prepping in peace and then being ready for war. And when you're in war, you get ready or bring about peace. So Brexit's on us, and I hate politics. I can't stand it. I'm not listening to it. But still, if I'm following the samurai path, then I have to at least think, well, there's a possible emergency there, and I should have a larder or pantry stock. So what I'm trying to say, guys, is if you're following the ways of the samurai and you're out there and you're enjoying the way of the samurai, it's little bits like this that make it. So, for example, there's my daisho. I might have shown you this before, but samurai have daisho. I'm not Japanese, so I'm not going to pretend to be Japanese. I'm an Englishman. So there is my daisho, my big and small sword, ready for emergencies. Do I have any wood? Those who know me, yes, I do. I've got plenty of wood, and that's just my emergency display wood. That's the actual wood I use. So am I going to have problems finding fuel in my house? No, I'm not. So let's have a quick look at this. So I've got pickled eggs, I've got lentils, I've got herbs, I've got oils and things like that. I've got apples. They're all apples from local trees. The pumpkin is for Halloween, which is very soon. Locally, I've got eggs. See that bad apple there? You've got to be careful. One bad apple spoils a whole bunch, as Guns N' Roses would say. So you've got to be careful there. So that basket there has got eggs in it. So the eggs are local. Basically, the chickens are across the road. So if... however, if it all goes tits up, then I don't think I'll get any eggs off them. So you've got to remember that. That's a supply out there, but it doesn't matter. I've got a massive plastic bottle of homemade cider outside. So I've got plenty of like purified water, i.e. alcohol. That's what it's for, wasn't it? They used to purify it and learn to stock it. We've got lots of, so there's chilies there for chili powders, turmeric, things like that. So I can make, and I've got tons of cans of beans. So basically I can make a chili every time I want. There's lots of little bits of stuff there. Then if you look a bit further down, you have to excuse me, that's I'm putting some shells up. You've got, hold on. So if you look a bit further down, we've got tons of spuds, tons of onions. Then hopefully that shelf will be going up there so I can do more of it. Now, my freezer is full. My freezer is full. Not of anything expensive. It didn't cost me much to fill. Every time there was a sale on at the local shop, it's full of like 20p pasties, that, you know, little orange sticker saying we'll go out of date in the next couple of days. So I basically get that, freeze it, and I've got tons of tinned food that I've put together. So I could probably last, hold on. So that's my tea shelf. You can see that I actually dried mint, and that's my mint tea with my China. That's different. That's quite expensive for like infusion tea. Up here, guys, I have got a ton of tea and Japanese tea and coffee, and up there I've got a selection of teas, Japanese teas and everything. So I can boil water. I've got a fire, I've got wood, I can boil water, I've got water. So if water gets turned off, I've got it. I've got a river across the road, so I can boil water. I can have tea as normal. No milk, of course, just like green teas and mint teas. I've got enough potato. Oh, and in the garden, I've got tons more potatoes as well growing. So I've got all that. So I can eat potatoes. I can spice them up so it's not always the same thing day in, day out. I've got some canned food. I can drink some alcohol and, you know, for water for purification purposes. And I can purify it with tea and things like that. So I could last a good month or two in here. If I lock the doors, I've got about a month of wood, maybe a month and maybe two. Especially if I did it in the small fire, I've got about 2 months of wood. So I could lock myself up here for a good period of time. However, there's a difference from a samurai point of view from castle sieging and sieging in emergency. Now, an emergency, if you're unaware, can happen very quickly in modern Western world. Why? Because we don't have the infrastructure to, well, basically, if the modern infrastructure goes, we don't have the communal infrastructure for food for 60 million people. We're in the UK, 60 million people, and there's tons of lorries being shipped in every day to feed those people. It's like ancient Rome, basically. You have a famine. So first thing to go would be the dogs, the cats, the sheep on the hills. You start trapping pigeons. But what you've got to realise is most people couldn't do that. So there would just be anarchy within a week. About a week, it would be pure anarchy. So the first few days, everybody would take everything off their shelves. They'd be eating it at home. Then there'd be people who were unprepared, like most people. I'm not unprepared, who would be like, right, I need food. I've got to feed my family. I'm starving. And within 3 or 4 days, you're really, really hungry. I've done a 2.5 day starvation. That's the closest I got. I was so hungry, like proper hungry. So basically you're going to start getting marauding bands going around, and within a week you're going to have problems. Now if the government didn't take control of it within a week, then you're going to start getting murders, and looting of course would have started by then, and probably within a month you're going to start getting cannibalism. Probably imagine 60 million people not being able to eat for a month. So the food would run out within the first week if you've not stocked up. And then you'd just be starving. You'd have 60 million people starving. All the dogs would be gone, cats would be gone, all that. And you very quickly find people will get hungry very fast. So, and you'd have collapse. So if the government has not taken control within a few weeks, then you probably want to leave your house. Why? Because this is the difference. Now, there'll be some preppers in America who'll be like, oh no, stay here. That's because you've got a lot of food and a lot of time. I've probably got a month of food and warmth. After that, I've got to start finding food, which means I've got to leave the house undefended. I've got to travel about to try and find further afield food. And then my house is a target. If people know there's someone in here and they think there's food here, then I've got to be on constant watch, and I'm alone. So you're probably best hitting the road and finding some food. So this is from Isui Sensei. This is what I mean. So it's different to, sorry, what I was saying is different to castle siege. Even in a castle siege, once the food is out, so if you don't believe me, guys, right, or you're thinking what's going on, every castle siege in the world, once the food is out, They want to get out of it. The last place you want to be is inside a castle when the food's run out. Then you find like people like Kusunoki Masashige in his was trying to get out of the castle. You're in a safe castle and you're trying to get out of it because you're gonna die of starvation or eat each other. So you've gotta get out. So this is what it is about samurai teachings. You've got to divide them into what's a bit of role play or koshi, like today, you know, doing the bowing and dressing in hakama, stretches onto that sort of side. But that's just traditional, understanding the traditional ways. Then you've got the philosophical side, how can I think? But then you've got the practical side, what do I actually do? I've got my daisho there, I've got my armour upstairs, because if Brexit goes tits up, I've got my food, I've got my armour, I've got my swords, I've got spears, we've got Rottweiler dogs, and we go murdering. So, you know what I mean? On we go. I'd have skulls on my back, you know what I mean? Heads on pikes. You'd have to go that way. It would just be that simple. So you'd either have to survive, but then again, once that peak goes of chaos, if you can get past the peak of chaos, then you'd be, and you can survive. You're all right in the wilderness, which is very difficult, by the way. It's not easy, but you'd have to then get into bands, and we'd get back to tribal society, and then. It'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it? Obviously, that's not going to happen after Brexit. But my point is that there may be a shortage of food for the UK, is what they're saying. Possibly. I very much doubt it. If a modern government has not fixed that before you go into it, then, but they've said, we've discussed this with locals, basically the most is you might not get your paprika, or you might not get your saffron, or, you know, something like that. You know, it's like, oh God, hard times. So that's it. So basically, guys, if you're interested in following the ways of the samurai, the Book of Samurai, Natoryu, tell me how you prep. And I don't mean long-term prepping. I'm not talking like bunkers and everything like that. I'm talking about how do you run your household so that you've always got food in advance. Very few times have I ever got to no food. It's happened a few times, but then I've been paid for my royalties because you guys need to buy more of my books, and then like just breathing again as like more money comes in and I can get back on and buy some potatoes. So let me know, guys, what you do to actually prep. Right, guys, see you later.